What if I told you that every single day, many of us are under the influence of dark psychology without even knowing it? The tactics employed by manipulators are often subtle, insidious, and can be woven into the fabric of everyday life. But what exactly is dark psychology? It's a study of the darker aspects of human behavior, where individuals use psychological principles to manipulate, deceive, and control others for their gain. Dark psychology isn't simply about manipulation, it's an intricate play of persuasion and influence. Every interaction we have can be seen through the lens of dark psychology, and understanding this can be both enlightening and unsettling. Researchers have delved deep into these tactics, revealing how some individuals exploit the vulnerabilities of others, leading to harmful outcomes. Take, for instance, the concept of emotional manipulation. There are countless stories of people who have been subjected to it. A classic case is that of emotional blackmail, where one party uses threats or guilt to control another's actions. Imagine a friend who constantly implies that your friendship hinges on fulfilling their demands, creating a toxic dynamic. This is a prime example of dark psychology at play. Statistics show that emotional manipulation is rampant in relationships, with a significant number of people reporting experiences of this nature. According to a survey by the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 40% of individuals have felt coerced into actions by friends or partners. The tricky part is that often, the manipulator does not realize they are using these tactics. This brings about the question, how can one identify these manipulative behaviors before falling victim to them? Understanding the primary tactics used in dark psychology can be a game changer. Some common strategies include gaslighting, guilt-tripping, and playing the victim. Take gaslighting, for example. This psychological manipulation tactic involves making a person doubt their own reality or perceptions. If someone often tells you, "You're overreacting," or "That never happened," it can lead to a serious erosion of your self-confidence and perception. Why does this happen? Because our minds crave validation. We want to trust those around us, and when someone we trust twists our reality, we begin to question ourselves. Exploring these manipulative behaviors uncovers a harsh reality. Many relationships enveloped in dark psychology create powerful emotional ties that can be very difficult to escape. The fear of loss plays heavily into this. Many people find themselves clinging to toxic relationships out of fear of loneliness, fear of change, and the fear of being unloved. These fears make individuals prone to manipulation, as they may stay silent and acquiescent rather than risk losing that connection. As we delve deeper into this topic, you may begin to recognize examples within your own life, or even discover areas where you might unconsciously employ these tactics. In the next chapter, we'll explore one of the most fascinating and manipulative tools at our disposal, persuasion. But it comes with a dark twist. How does it get used against us? Buckle up, as we dive into the psychology of persuasion and the thin line separating influence and manipulation. What distinguishes effective persuasion from manipulation? The answer lies in intention and outcome. Persuasion, when done ethically, is about influencing someone's beliefs or behaviors in a way that respects their autonomy. Conversely, manipulation is often about exerting control, often in a deceitful or coercive manner. Understanding these differences is crucial to navigating the complexities of human interaction. Consider the work of Robert Cialdini, a renowned psychologist who distilled the principles of persuasion into key strategies that are widely used in marketing, negotiation, and even personal relationships. His 6 principles of influence, reciprocity, commitment, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity, provide a framework for understanding how we can be influenced. At its core, persuasion can lead to positive outcomes, like motivating someone to adopt healthier habits. But the same principles can easily morph into manipulation when employed with ulterior motives. For instance, take the principle of scarcity. Marketers often use this tactic to create urgency. Only a few left. It plays on our fear of missing out, pushing us to make impulsive decisions. This principle can lead to regrettable choices, such as filling our carts with unnecessary items just to avoid missing out. But in darker scenarios, scarcity can be used maliciously to exploit vulnerabilities. Imagine someone in a position of authority using scarcity to push an agenda, endangering others' welfare in the process. Research has shown that when individuals feel pressured by scarcity, they often ignore their true desires or better judgment. A study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology illustrated that participants were more likely to choose options perceived as scarce, regardless of quality. This shows that manipulation doesn't just happen in personal relationships, it's deeply ingrained in societal structures too. As we navigate the landscape of persuasion, think about its practice in various spheres, corporate environments, politics, and even friendships. When you find yourself being persuaded, ask, what is the motive behind this influence? Is it for mutual benefit, or does it seem self-serving? Next, we'll delve into the role of emotional appeals in manipulation and how they can be used to bypass rational thought altogether. What happens when emotions become the weapon of choice? Prepare to explore the emotional triggers and their powerful impact on the decision-making process. Have you ever felt an overwhelming urge to make a decision based solely on your feelings, bypassing logic entirely? Welcome to the world of emotional manipulation, where emotions are weaponized to unduly influence decisions. It's a powerful tactic employed by skilled manipulators to create situations where you act in ways that serve them, not you. In emotional manipulation, attacks can come in various forms. One notable strategy is love bombing. This technique is often seen in toxic relationships, where one partner showers the other with affection and attention to create dependency. Initially, it seems beautiful and genuine, but over time, it can erode the other person's sense of value, making them question their worth without the manipulator's affection. This creates a cycle where the victim becomes addicted to the emotional highs and lows of the relationship, leading to a form of psychological enslavement. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reports that emotional abuse often precedes physical abuse, and many victims initially do not recognize the signs of manipulation. Studies also show that individuals who have experienced emotional manipulation struggle with self-esteem and trust issues long after the relationship has ended. This is reflective of the profound and lasting impacts dark psychology can have on individuals. To further illustrate this, let's look at a real-life case. A woman named Sarah found herself in a whirlwind affair marked by love bombing. Initially, her partner's intense affection and attention felt wonderful. As time passed, she noticed subtle shifts. He would withdraw affection during arguments, leaving her feeling abandoned and confused. This pattern grew, and Sarah began to base her self-worth solely on his approval. By the time she realized his manipulation, she was deeply entangled in a web of emotional chaos. This case demonstrates how easily one can fall prey to emotional manipulation, especially when wrapped in a facade of love. So how can one safeguard against such tactics? One effective way is by fostering self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Being aware of your emotions and reactions can help identify when someone is trying to manipulate you. Reflect on your feelings. Are they genuine, or are they influenced by someone else's actions? Monitoring your emotional health can provide insights into your interpersonal experiences. As we unravel these emotional triggers, we'll soon explore the role of cognitive biases in manipulation. How can our own psychological predispositions make us vulnerable? Get ready to uncover the nuances of cognitive biases and their profound influence on our decision-making. Have you ever made a snap judgment that later turned out to be incorrect? Welcome to the realm of cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that our brains use to simplify decision-making. While they can help us navigate complex choices, they can also render us susceptible to manipulation. Let's explore some of these biases where dark psychology plays a crucial role in influencing us. One of the most notorious cognitive biases is the confirmation bias. This bias leads individuals to favor information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs, while neglecting evidence that contradicts them. For instance, a person who believes a particular conspiracy theory might only seek out information that supports it, dismissing credible sources that could shed light on the truth. Manipulators can exploit this bias by presenting selective information that aligns with their narrative, effectively steering individuals down a path of blindness. Another significant cognitive bias is the anchoring bias. This occurs when individuals rely too heavily on the first piece of information they encounter when making decisions. For example, if you're negotiating a salary, the first number thrown out can greatly influence your expectations, regardless of its relevance. Dark psychology tactics can skillfully exploit this bias by presenting an initial offer that sets a particular frame for subsequent negotiations. A study published in the Journal of Psychology examined how anchoring bias affects financial decisions, revealing that people tend to stick to the initial anchor even when presented with more accurate information later. This shows that cognitive biases can lead to poor decision-making and can easily be manipulated by those who are aware of these psychological principles. As we examine these biases, consider the implications they have on group dynamics. In group settings, biases can lead to collective misjudgments, reinforcing harmful norms and behaviors. For instance, groupthink can occur when individuals prioritize consensus over critical analysis, often resulting in disastrous outcomes. This is particularly relevant in corporate culture, where teams may agree with a flawed strategy because of groupthink, leading to catastrophic results. In the next chapter, we'll shift gears to explore the role of social engineering in the realm of dark psychology. How do skilled manipulators use social tactics to exploit trust? Prepare to uncover the elaborate world of social engineering and its dangerous implications. Have you ever received a suspicious email or phone call that felt too good to be true? Welcome to the world of social engineering, where human psychology is exploited to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential information. This tactic is prevalent in cybersecurity but also extends to everyday life, revealing the relentless nature of dark psychology. Social engineering relies on exploiting trust, familiarity, and the innate desire to help others. Phishing scams are a prime example of social engineering. These scams often imitate legitimate organizations, tricking individuals into providing personal information. According to the Federal Trade Commission, phishing resulted in losses exceeding $1.8 billion in 2020 alone. It shows just how effective these tactics can be when individuals let their guard down. Skilled social engineers know how to play on your emotions and sense of trust to manipulate actions, leading you to reveal critical information that can lead to dire consequences. Consider the case of a young executive who fell victim to a highly orchestrated social engineering scheme. This executive received an email seemingly from her company's IT department requesting verification of her login credentials. Trusting the name and the urgency of the email, she complied. Within hours, her personal and company data was compromised, leading to a significant security breach. This case illustrates how even the most competent individuals can fall prey to social engineering tactics. Social engineering can also manifest in interpersonal relationships. Think of the manipulative person who charms their way into your life. Often, these individuals will present a facade that cultivates trust and vulnerability, only to exploit it. They might offer to help you with something, winning your trust, before later revealing their true intentions. To guard against social engineering, it's crucial to maintain a healthy skepticism. Always verify the authenticity of requests for information or assistance, whether online or offline. Education is vital. Understanding the common tactics used can significantly reduce your chances of falling victim. As we conclude this chapter, we'll delve deeper into the ethical considerations surrounding dark psychology. Are there ever justifiable uses of these tactics? Prepare to engage in a thought-provoking discussion about the intersection of morality and manipulation. Gaslighting is a psychological tactic that can turn reality upside down. It's a manipulative strategy rooted in deception, often causing those targeted to doubt their own perceptions, memories, and even sanity. The term derives its name from the 1938 play Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into believing she is losing her mind by dimming the gaslights and denying it when she points it out. In relationships, gaslighting can manifest as a partner insisting that an argument never happened or insisting that a person is overreacting to something that is, in reality, a significant issue. This tactic is insidious. It can create a toxic environment where the victim feels isolated and confused, unsure of what is real. The emotional toll this takes can be devastating, leading to anxiety, depression, and a loss of self-esteem. Consider the case of a woman named Sarah who was in a long-term relationship with a man she thought she could trust. Over time, he began to question her memories of events. When she would bring up something that hurt her, he would respond with, "You must be remembering it wrong, that never happened." Sarah started to doubt her mind, leading her to stay silent about her feelings. Research shows that gaslighting is not just a relationship issue. It can occur in workplaces, friendships, and even on a societal level. An important study by the American Psychological Association indicated that individuals who experience gaslighting often struggle to form secure attachments to others. Gaslighting can also be seen in the media, with misinformation campaigns during elections or public health crises. By casting doubt on the truth, those in power can manipulate narratives to suit their agendas. This highlights the need for critical thinking and awareness. To protect oneself against gaslighting, it's crucial to maintain a strong sense of self and keep a record of significant events and conversations. Keeping a journal can help track your thoughts and feelings, anchoring your reality even when someone tries to distort it. As we dive deeper into the topic of dark psychology, it's clear that gaslighting is just one of many tactics used to manipulate individuals. But what happens when the manipulation escalates to something even more dangerous? Stay tuned as we explore psychological coercion and its profound impacts in the next chapter. Psychological coercion can be seen as a silent enslaver, straining the autonomy of the individual through fear, obligation, and deception. Unlike overt physical coercion, which can be easily identified, psychological coercion often operates subtly, making it all the more insidious. This form of manipulation is prevalent in various situations, from high-pressure sales tactics to cult recruitment strategies. For instance, cults often employ psychological coercion to recruit and retain members. One shocking example is the Church of Scientology, which has faced numerous allegations of coercive tactics. Members can be induced to confess their deepest fears and secrets, which are then used against them, creating a sense of obligation and fear of reprisal if they attempt to leave. A chilling case study highlights this in the story of a woman named Rebecca who joined a cult in search of community. Over time, she was isolated from her family and friends, coerced into relinquishing her financial assets, and manipulated to feel that leaving would lead to catastrophic consequences. Rebecca's journey illustrates how psychological coercion can distort perceptions of reality, binding individuals to situations that are harmful. Psychological coercion is also prevalent in abusive relationships. Abusers often use this tactic to instill fear and compliance in their partners, making them feel trapped. The National Domestic Violence Hotline reports that more than 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States alone. Emotional and psychological coercion significantly contributes to this cycle of violence. Identifying coercive situations requires vigilance. Signs of psychological coercion often include feelings of being trapped, heightened anxiety, and constant second-guessing of one's decisions. It's crucial for individuals to cultivate self-awareness and trust their instincts. Establishing robust support networks of friends or professionals can also be vital in counteracting these tactics. As we unpack the implications of psychological coercion, we need to ask ourselves, what can be done to combat this harmful practice? In the next chapter, we'll explore some of the ways individuals and society can defend against dark psychological tactics. To combat the pervasive influence of dark psychology, it's crucial to develop effective defense mechanisms that help shield against manipulation. Understanding your mind's vulnerabilities can empower you to resist those who seek to exploit them. First and foremost, education is a powerful tool. By learning about various tactics used in dark psychology, such as gaslighting, psychological coercion, and emotional manipulation, you can become more vigilant and aware of the signs. Knowledge is the first step toward empowerment. For instance, the book The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker discusses how trusting your instincts is essential for personal safety. His insights show that many individuals ignore their gut feelings, which can lead to dangerous situations. Next, developing critical thinking skills can dramatically alter your response to manipulation. This involves questioning the motives of those around you, analyzing the information presented, and weighing various perspectives. In a world awash with misinformation, critical thinking is more crucial than ever. Research in the psychological domain has shown that individuals who are taught critical thinking skills tend to be less susceptible to manipulation. This skill can be developed through practice and by engaging in discussions that challenge your viewpoints. Another vital defense mechanism is emotional intelligence. This involves recognizing your own emotions and those of others. High emotional intelligence allows individuals to gauge the intentions behind others' actions. For example, someone with high emotional intelligence may notice when a colleague employs flattery to manipulate them into taking on additional work. Understanding these dynamics can help individuals assert boundaries more effectively. Mindfulness practices can further bolster your defenses. Techniques such as meditation can help individuals become more aware of their thoughts and feelings, fostering a sense of clarity. Studies have shown that mindfulness can reduce emotional reactivity, making it more challenging for manipulators to affect you. In a world where dark psychology tactics are prevalent, having these defenses in place is not just beneficial, it's essential. As we conclude this exploration into the realm of dark psychology, we must reflect on the implications of our newfound understanding. Join me as we summarize our journey through the shadowy tactics that influence our lives and contemplate ways to foster a healthier psychological landscape. As we have traveled through the dark corridors of psychological manipulation, it's imperative to consider the broader implications of our findings. Creating awareness around dark psychology tactics isn't merely an academic exercise, it's a matter of societal importance. This awareness can empower individuals to recognize and combat manipulative behaviors in their everyday lives. Communities and organizations must prioritize education about psychological tactics in schools, workplaces, and beyond. A great example of this is the rise of programs that focus on social-emotional learning, SEL. These programs encourage students to develop emotional awareness and interpersonal skills, equipping them with tools to navigate complex social dynamics. Research has indicated that SEL programs lead to improved academic performance and better decision-making skills, ultimately reducing susceptibility to manipulation. Moreover, fostering open conversations about mental health and emotional well-being can help destigmatize the discussion around manipulation and abuse. Organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, advocate for increased awareness and support. By normalizing these conversations, we can create a culture that encourages individuals to speak out against manipulative behaviors and seek help when needed. In the professional realm, companies can implement training programs focused on emotional intelligence and manipulation awareness. This approach not only improves workplace dynamics but also promotes a healthier organizational culture. Empirical evidence suggests that organizations who invest in employee well-being experience lower turnover rates and higher job satisfaction. Furthermore, the role of social media cannot be overlooked in this discussion. Platforms have a responsibility to combat misinformation and promote transparency. Social media literacy should be included in educational curriculums, empowering users to scrutinize information critically. As consumers of information, we must also hold ourselves accountable, practicing discernment when engaging with content online. In conclusion, the collective responsibility of creating psychological awareness lies with each of us. By committing to personal education and fostering open dialogues, we can dismantle dark psychology's harmful influence. But as we wrap up our exploration, we must ponder, how will we navigate our futures in a world shadowed by manipulation? Join me as we embark on a final reflection on our journey and discuss actionable steps for embracing a more enlightened mindset. As we conclude our deep dive into the complexities of dark psychology, we stand at a crossroads. We've traversed the treacherous paths of manipulation, coercion, and deceit. But in this darkness, there is a flicker of enlightenment, the knowledge and awareness we now possess. This journey was not just about understanding dark tactics, it was also about empowering ourselves. Armed with knowledge, we can navigate through life with greater clarity, making informed decisions that protect our mental and emotional well-being. Remember the stories we encountered, Sarah and Rebecca, who found themselves ensnared by manipulation. Their experiences remind us of the importance of vigilance and self-awareness. However, it's equally essential that we extend our awareness beyond ourselves. We can be advocates for change, creating environments where manipulation is recognized and challenged. By fostering a culture of openness and support, we can help others break free from the psychological chains that bind them. Furthermore, as we harness the tools to defend ourselves against dark psychology, we must also embrace empathy. Understanding the motivations behind manipulative behaviors can help us navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. This empathy can lead to healing and reconnection, allowing us to break the cycle of manipulation both for ourselves and others. In a world increasingly characterized by psychological tactics, our journey of understanding must continue. Let's commit to lifelong learning, remaining aware of the tactics that seek to exploit our vulnerabilities. As we take the final steps out of the shadows and into the light of knowledge, let's keep an eye on our surroundings and the people we encounter. In a world filled with manipulation, it's our responsibility to cultivate conscious awareness, not just for ourselves but for those around us. Let's embrace enlightenment, and together, foster a brighter future free from the chains of dark psychology. Thank you for joining this transformative journey. Subliminal messages have fascinated and terrified us for decades. The idea that hidden signals can influence our decisions without our conscious awareness plays into our deepest fears about control. In 1957, market researcher James Vickery claimed to have successfully used subliminal messaging in cinema. He displayed phrases like "drink Coca-Cola" and "eat popcorn" for just a fraction of a second during a movie. This sparked immense interest and controversy. Though later debunked as a hoax, the concept raised questions about the integrity of our choices. Fast forward to today, subliminal messaging thrives in various forms: advertisements, music, and even social media. But how do these hidden cues work? Research suggests they can activate our subconscious, nudging us towards certain behaviors. A study published in the journal Psychological Science found that subliminally presented words could influence participants' preferences. For example, those exposed to words associated with kindness were more likely to engage in altruistic behavior afterward. Yet, the ethical implications of using such tactics are immense. If companies can sway our choices without our explicit consent, what does that say about our freedom? The debate about subliminal messaging emphasizes the need for awareness and critical thinking. It serves as a reminder that while we may believe we are making independent choices, unseen forces may be guiding us. As we delve deeper into these tactics, we confront uncomfortable truths about agency and autonomy. Can we ever truly be free from manipulation? This question looms, urging us to explore further. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that can lead to disastrous decisions. It occurs when the desire for harmony in a decision-making group results in an irrational or dysfunctional outcome. History is rife with examples of groupthink, from the Bay of Pigs invasion to the Challenger disaster. In these cases, the pressure to conform silenced dissenting voices, leading to catastrophic results. The concept was popularized by psychologist Irving Janis, who noted that groupthink can create an illusion of unanimity and a belief in the group's invulnerability. This illusion can be fueled by dark psychology tactics, where leaders exploit the group's need for acceptance to push their agendas. For instance, during the Watergate scandal, President Nixon's administration exhibited groupthink as aides dismissed dissenting opinions, which ultimately led to a cover-up and criminal charges. Groups become echo chambers, amplifying biases and preventing critical analysis. To combat groupthink, promoting an environment where criticism is welcomed is essential. Techniques like assigning a devil's advocate can encourage diverse perspectives and promote healthy debate. However, the challenge lies in breaking down the social dynamics that foster conformity. Those who speak out against the majority risk social isolation, an intimidating prospect. As we navigate our own lives, recognizing the signs of groupthink is crucial. Are we simply conforming to avoid conflict? How often do we sacrifice our authentic opinions for acceptance? Understanding groupthink's dark side empowers us to make better decisions and challenge collective norms. The digital age has birthed new landscapes for dark psychology to thrive, especially in online interactions. Social media platforms, forums, and gaming communities have become breeding grounds for manipulation. The anonymity of the internet permits individuals to exploit psychological tactics without immediate repercussions. One prime example is the phenomenon known as catfishing. Here, individuals create fake identities to manipulate others emotionally or financially. In a study by the Pew Research Center, 30% of online users reported experiencing some form of harassment, showcasing the darker side of human interaction in digital spaces. Moreover, platforms often employ algorithms that exploit our psychological triggers, using clickbait and sensationalism to keep us engaged. These techniques capitalize on our instincts, drawing us into echo chambers where our beliefs are reinforced and extreme views are normalized. Consider the impact of confirmation bias, where individuals favor information that conforms to their existing beliefs while dismissing contrary evidence. This cognitive distortion thrives in online spaces, leading to division and radicalization. The dark psychology of online interactions reminds us to question our digital experiences. Are we being manipulated by influencers and algorithms? Recognizing these tactics is the first step toward reclaiming our autonomy in a world where our choices can be heavily engineered. As we engage online, we must remain vigilant, discerning between authenticity and deception. Fear is a powerful emotion that can be harnessed for both constructive and destructive purposes. In dark psychology, fear is often used as a tool for manipulation. Consider how certain media outlets thrive on sensationalism, crafting stories that evoke fear and anxiety among the public. This isn't just about reporting, it's about controlling narratives and influencing behavior through fear. Throughout history, fear has been weaponized. During the Cold War, propaganda campaigns leveraged the collective fear of nuclear annihilation to gain support for military funding. Such tactics create an environment where individuals are willing to forego their rights in exchange for the illusion of safety. One of the most notorious examples of fear manipulation is seen in cults. Cult leaders often exploit individuals' fears of loneliness, failure, and the unknown. They provide a seemingly safe haven, but at a steep psychological price. Research shows that fear can lead to a decrease in rational decision-making. A study published in the journal Psychological Science indicates that fear can cause individuals to seek immediate relief, leading them to make hasty decisions. This underscores the importance of recognizing fear as a manipulation tactic. Fear is not just personal, it can be collective. Political campaigns often use fear to galvanize support. Ads that highlight crime rates or highlight threats can sway entire populations. The implications of fear as a psychological tool extend far beyond individual interactions, shaping national policies and ideologies. As we navigate our fears, we must ask ourselves, are we allowing fear to dictate our decisions? Understanding how fear is used in dark psychology can provide us with the tools to resist manipulation and reclaim our power. In conclusion, while fear can be a natural response to danger, it can also serve as a weapon. By recognizing fear manipulation, we can develop strategies to combat it, ultimately gaining autonomy over our choices. And as we uncover these tactics, awareness is the first step toward empowerment and enlightenment. Narcissism is more than just selfishness, it represents a spectrum of personality traits that can lead to destructive manipulation. At its core, narcissism embodies a lack of empathy and an inflated sense of self-importance, which are key characteristics exploited in dark psychology. Understanding this condition is crucial in navigating relationships and interactions, especially when dealing with narcissistic individuals. Psychology has outlined several traits of narcissism, including grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a tendency to exploit others. Narcissists often use charm to draw people in, only to later manipulate them for their gain. Take, for instance, the case of Elizabeth Holmes and her startup Theranos. Holmes, often hailed as a visionary, displayed classic narcissistic traits, presenting her blood testing technology as revolutionary, despite knowing it was untested and unreliable. Holmes' story illustrates the potential for narcissism to lead to unethical decisions that cause harm on a massive scale. Her manipulative practices have had devastating effects on investors, employees, and patients alike. Additionally, narcissism often intertwines with gaslighting, as narcissists tend to twist reality to maintain control over their victims. This creates confusion and self-doubt, making it difficult for the victim to recognize the manipulation. Many individuals who have had relationships with narcissists report feelings of inadequacy and anxiety. But how do we protect ourselves from narcissistic manipulation? Awareness is key. Learning to set boundaries, understanding the signs of narcissism, and fostering self-esteem can help shield us from these harmful behaviors. As we delve deeper into the world of narcissistic manipulation, we must also remind ourselves of the importance of empathy and connection. In a world filled with self-interest, cultivating genuine relationships can act as a counterbalance to narcissistic tendencies. Ultimately, by raising awareness of narcissism and its dark psychological implications, we can empower ourselves and others to break free from manipulation and lead healthier, more fulfilling lives. Social media has transformed the way we communicate and interact, but it has also created an environment ripe for dark psychology tactics. From misinformation campaigns to cyberbullying, the potential for manipulation is immense. Platforms designed to connect us can simultaneously be tools for deceit and exploitation. Consider the alarming rise of misinformation during elections. A study by the Pew Research Center found that 62% of U.S. adults get news from social media, which can easily be manipulated to sway public opinion. For example, during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, targeted ads spread false information to influence voter sentiment. This opens a conversation about the ethics of political advertising and the responsibility of social media platforms in regulating content. Additionally, social media fosters environments for cyberbullying, where individuals are targeted anonymously. The emotional toll on victims can be severe, leading to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. In contrast, social media can also be a powerful tool for change, raising awareness about mental health issues and social justice movements. This duality highlights the complexity of human interaction in a digital age. Furthermore, the addictive nature of social media plays into dark psychology. The constant need for validation can drive individuals to compromise their values for likes and shares. This phenomenon is known as social validation theory, which shows the lengths people will go to for acceptance. Navigating this landscape requires critical thinking and media literacy. Understanding the mechanics of social media can empower us to recognize manipulation when it occurs. Ultimately, as we explore the role of social media in dark psychology tactics, we must cultivate awareness of both its risks and its potential for positive change. By doing so, we can harness social media as a force for good while shielding ourselves from its darker sides. Fear. It's a powerful weapon, one that can manipulate thoughts, control actions, and shape behaviors. But how do these dark psychology tactics leverage our innate fears to achieve their goals? To understand this, we must first explore what fear does to the human mind. Fear activates a complex web of psychological and physiological responses designed to keep us safe. However, this response can also be exploited. Consider the story of the infamous War of the Worlds radio broadcast in 1938, where Orson Welles unleashed chaos across America by narrating a fictional alien invasion. The broadcast tapped into deep-seated anxieties about the unknown, misleading listeners into believing that an actual invasion was occurring. Many fled their homes in panic. This incident illustrates the power of fear, not just as a feeling, but as a tool of manipulation. Fear-based tactics are not just relics of the past. They are ingrained in marketing and politics today. Advertisers often utilize fear to provoke an emotional response. Think of insurance commercials that highlight terrifying scenarios, car crashes, house fires, or health crises. The underlying message is, without our product, you're vulnerable. That vulnerability is what drives us to purchase, often against our rational judgment. In addition, fear is used in political campaigns. Politicians often paint dire pictures of what could happen if their opponent is elected. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a dark psychological tactic to instill anxiety and urgency in voters. Take the 2004 presidential election in the United States, where George W. Bush's campaign emphasized the threat of terrorism incessantly. The message was clear: vote for us, or risk your safety. This tactic not only mobilized voters but also created a polarized atmosphere rife with fear and distrust. Psychologists explain that the amygdala, a small almond-shaped cluster of nuclei in the brain, is responsible for processing emotions related to fear. When activated, it prompts fight-or-flight responses, making us more susceptible to manipulation. Thus, our decision-making abilities become compromised under the weight of fear. But fear doesn't only affect our decisions, it can influence entire social dynamics. Group behavior can morph in response to shared fears, leading to phenomena like mass hysteria or mob mentality. In 1954, the panic over a supposed bomb threat at a New England shopping mall led to chaos, with shoppers trampling each other to escape. This incident underlines how fear can escalate in group situations, often leading to irrational actions. Understanding the power of fear is crucial in recognizing and defending ourselves against these dark psychology tactics. Knowledge serves as a protective layer, enabling us to question the intentions behind fear-inducing messages. As we navigate our daily lives, we must remain vigilant about the source of our fears and consider whether they are genuinely warranted or merely manipulated to serve someone else's agenda. As we move forward, we'll explore even more profound impacts of dark psychology tactics. How does the phenomenon of narcissism blend with these manipulation tactics? Narcissism is more than just vanity, it's a complex psychological phenomenon that often intertwines with dark psychology tactics. Narcissists possess an inflated sense of self-importance, coupled with a deep need for admiration. This personality trait often leads to manipulative behaviors that impact their relationships and social dynamics. One of the most telling aspects of narcissism is the tendency to exploit others for personal gain. Research indicates that narcissists are significantly more likely to engage in dark triad behaviors, traits characterized by manipulativeness, callousness, and a lack of empathy. For example, a study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that narcissistic individuals score higher on measures of manipulation and can be quite adept at using emotional tactics to achieve their objectives. Consider the realm of corporate leadership. Many successful executives exhibit narcissistic traits, often using their charm and persuasive tactics to drive their ambitions forward. Take the example of Elizabeth Holmes, founder of Theranos. Her charismatic persona and grand vision initially captivated investors and the public, masking the underlying deception that would eventually lead to her company's collapse. Another example lies in the entertainment industry, where narcissism can often be seen in the behavior of celebrities. Why do some celebrities engage in outrageous acts? This behavior can be linked to their need for validation and attention. Kanye West, for instance, has often made headlines for his controversial statements and actions. While some may see this as an act of self-expression, it often stems from a deeper need for admiration and control, hallmarks of narcissistic behavior. Narcissists are skilled manipulators. They often engage in love bombing, a tactic used to overwhelm an individual with affection and attention, creating a dependency. Once that dependency is established, they can then exploit their partner's vulnerabilities, leading to a toxic relationship dynamic. Emotional abuse is a common outcome, with victims often left feeling confused and trapped. In the workplace, narcissistic leaders may create toxic environments, fostering cultures where manipulation is the norm. Studies show that workplaces led by narcissistic individuals often experience high turnover rates, decreased job satisfaction, and diminished employee morale. But how do we protect ourselves from the influence of narcissism and its dark psychological tactics? First, awareness is key. Acknowledging narcissistic traits in ourselves and those around us can help us better navigate relationships. Recognizing red flags, such as excessive charm or manipulative behavior, can allow us to set boundaries and safeguard our well-being. Moreover, surrounding ourselves with a supportive network can serve as a buffer against narcissistic manipulation. By fostering connections with empathetic and trustworthy individuals, we create a protective environment that discourages the tactics typical of narcissism. As we shift our focus to the next chapter, we will examine how social media further amplifies these dark psychology tactics, making it easier for narcissists to thrive. In an age where social media is a staple of daily life, we must consider how these platforms serve as breeding grounds for dark psychology tactics. The way we interact online has changed, and with it, the strategies used to manipulate and influence. From the moment we log in, we are immersed in a carefully curated world where reality often takes a back seat. Algorithms shape our feeds to keep us scrolling, often based on engagement metrics rather than genuine connection. This creates an addictive environment, exploiting our innate need for validation. Like a dopamine hit, likes and shares condition us to crave attention and approval. Consider the phenomenon of influencers. Their rise to fame is often attributed to their ability to connect with audiences emotionally and visually. However, many influencers utilize dark psychology tactics, often showcasing not just products but lifestyles that perpetuate unrealistic standards. Take the case of the #vanlife movement. While it promotes freedom and adventure, it often glosses over the hardships associated with it, manipulating followers into feeling inadequate unless they pursue a similar path. This constant comparison can lead to feelings of anxiety and depression among users. Furthermore, social media is rife with misinformation, a powerful tool of manipulation often employed by those with nefarious motives. In the 2016 U.S. presidential election, social media platforms were weaponized, spreading misleading narratives to sway public opinion. A study found that misinformation spread 6 times faster than true news on these platforms, amplifying fear and division among users. The addictiveness of social media also leads to a detachment from reality. People may present curated versions of their lives, perpetuating a cycle of envy and deceit, ultimately fostering a culture of superficiality. This behavior can drive individuals to engage in cyberbullying as a means to exert control over others. The psychological distance provided by screens makes it easier for individuals to hurl insults and threats, often without facing the consequences such actions would typically entail. Additionally, social media platforms employ tactics such as emotional appeal through viral content. Videos depicting tragedies, heartwarming moments, or shocking news can elicit strong emotional responses, drawing individuals into a cycle of sharing and engagement. This emotional manipulation can desensitize users to real-world issues while reinforcing a sense of helplessness, an example of dark psychology at work. Understanding these manipulative tactics is essential to navigate the murky waters of social media effectively. To safeguard ourselves, we must cultivate digital literacy, discerning between genuine content and manipulation. Setting boundaries around social media use and engaging only with content that uplifts can empower us to resist the pull of dark psychology tactics. As we draw our discussion to a close, let's reflect on the implications of our findings and focus on the importance of cultivating awareness in our everyday lives. Fear is a primal emotion embedded deep within the human psyche. It's not only essential for survival but has also become a tool for manipulation. Throughout history, fear has been leveraged to control populations, influence decisions, and mold perceptions. From the chilling propaganda during wartime to the subtle clickbait headlines that you scroll past daily, the psychology of fear impacts our lives in ways we often don't recognize. Take, for example, the famous fire alarm experiment where subjects were placed in a controlled environment. They were exposed to a loud noise, simulating a fire alarm. The subjects, when asked afterward, consistently rated the perceived danger higher than those who hadn't experienced the sound. This experiment reveals a vital aspect of dark psychology. Once fear is introduced, it clouds judgment and significantly alters perception. In modern society, fear is incessantly utilized as a manipulation tactic. It's prominent in political discourse where politicians might invoke fear of alien threats, economic collapse, or social unrest. These tactics create an atmosphere of anxiety that pushes individuals to comply with certain agendas, all in the name of safety. In personal relationships, fear can be just as potent. Consider how someone might manipulate a partner by threatening to leave or making them feel inadequate. This emotional coercion taps into deep-seated fears, creating a toxic cycle of dependency and control. Moreover, fear can be a driving force behind consumer behavior. Marketers exploit fear of missing out, known as FOMO, to sell products. Limited-time offers, which invoke a sense of urgency, prey on our fears of loss, prompting impulsive decisions. Understanding how fear operates allows individuals to recognize when they are being manipulated. It's crucial to cultivate the ability to process fear rationally, allowing one to make decisions based on logic rather than impulse. Hence, to combat the manipulation of fear, awareness and education are imperative. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the insidious role of narcissism in dark psychology and how self-interest often leads to exploitation. Stay tuned as we unravel this complex web further. Narcissism isn't just a personality trait, it's a pervasive force that shapes relationships, careers, and societies. At its core, narcissism is characterized by an excessive need for admiration and a lack of empathy for others. But how does this connect to dark psychology? Narcissists often manipulate those around them for personal gain, using charm and charisma to mask their self-serving agendas. They can be difficult to identify at first, as they can initially seem engaging and dynamic. However, their underlying motives often become apparent over time. One striking example is the rise of successful leaders who exhibit narcissistic traits. An examination of several high-profile CEOs reveals a troubling pattern. Their careers were often built on exploiting others' efforts while taking credit for their successes. Studies indicate that organizations led by narcissists frequently suffer from low morale and high turnover rates, as employees feel undervalued and exploited. In personal relationships, narcissists can become emotional manipulators, creating an environment where their partners doubt their self-worth. They may employ gaslighting tactics, making their partners question their reality to maintain control. This not only affects mental well-being but can have long-term repercussions on an individual's self-esteem. Real stories abound of individuals trapped in narcissistic relationships, where the gradual erosion of confidence leads to devastating consequences, both mentally and emotionally. Moreover, narcissism is magnified in our digital age, where social media platforms allow users to curate their images, often enhancing self-importance at the expense of authenticity. Research indicates that excessive social media usage correlates with higher levels of narcissism. To combat narcissistic manipulation, it's essential to cultivate self-awareness and set healthy boundaries. Engaging in open conversations about feelings and experiences can improve empathy and understanding, creating a protective barrier against narcissistic exploitation. In our next chapter, we will explore the role of social media as a breeding ground for dark psychological tactics. How does it amplify manipulation, and what can we do to ensure our digital footprint protects rather than harms us? Join us next as we uncover these crucial insights. Social media has dramatically transformed our interpersonal interactions, creating a virtual landscape where dark psychology tactics flourish. As we engage more than ever in this digital realm, we also expose ourselves to various forms of manipulation that leverage our psychological vulnerabilities. Let's contemplate the nature of social media interactions. These platforms are designed to maximize engagement, often at the cost of our mental well-being. Algorithms prioritize content that triggers emotional responses, fear, outrage, or excitement. When we share, like, or comment, we contribute to a cycle that thrives on psychological manipulation. Consider the rise of misinformation on platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Studies have shown that false information spreads faster than the truth, largely due to the emotional reactions it incites. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, conspiracy theories proliferated across social networks, causing panic and distrust. People were manipulated by narratives tailored to evoke fear and anxiety about a health crisis, exacerbating public confusion. Moreover, social media serves as a platform for cyberbullying, another manifestation of dark psychology. Individuals can hide behind screens, leading to aggressive behavior they might not exhibit face-to-face. This anonymity allows bullies to manipulate, intimidate, and control their victims without immediate repercussions. The psychological impact of online harassment can be devastating, leading to anxiety, depression, and in extreme cases, self-harm. On a subtler note, influencers often employ psychological tactics to manipulate their followers. They cultivate a sense of belonging and community, yet this can become exploitative as they promote products masked as genuine recommendations. As followers idolize these figures, the line between authenticity and commercialization blurs, leading to potential manipulation and loss of critical thinking. Recognizing these dark psychological influences is crucial. Users must develop digital literacy to discern manipulation tactics employed online. By fostering critical thinking and awareness, individuals can regain control over their online experiences. Setting boundaries, such as limiting screen time or curating one's feed, can help mitigate the impact of dark psychology in the digital space. As we conclude this chapter, it's clear that the intersection of social media and dark psychology is intricate and profound. Our next chapter will take a more personal approach to dark psychology, exploring how individuals can protect their mental health and well-being in a world rife with manipulation. Stay tuned for essential strategies and insights. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we can experience. It grips us, paralyzes us, and pushes us to react in ways we might not normally consider. In fact, the psychology of fear has been exploited throughout history, from political propaganda to marketing strategies. As humans, we are hardwired to respond to fear. This survival mechanism kept our ancestors safe from predators and unknown dangers. But in today's world, these tactics can be used against us. Let's dive deeper into how fear is employed as a dark psychological tactic. Consider the famous study by psychologist John B. Watson and the Little Albert experiment in 1920. Watson conditioned a child to develop a fear of white rats by associating the animal with loud, frightening sounds. This experiment highlighted how fear can be induced, showing that learned fears can even override natural instincts. Now, how does this apply to our daily lives? In advertising, fear often appears in the form of fear-based marketing. Companies highlight potential dangers of their competitors' products or emphasize the risks of not using their service. For instance, anti-smoking campaigns frequently portray graphic images of the health consequences of smoking. These visuals invoke fear, creating a strong emotional reaction that drives people to either quit or never start. In political arenas, fear is a weaponized tool. Elections can be swayed by fear tactics, where candidates use propaganda to instill fear about their opponent's capabilities or policies. The infamous Daisy ad from Lyndon B. Johnson's campaign in 1964 is a prime example. This advertisement suggested that failure to elect Johnson would lead to nuclear annihilation. Fear can also manifest in personal relationships. Abusive partners often utilize fear to control their victims, using intimidation and threats to ensure compliance. This creates a cycle of anxiety, forcing the victim into submission. The psychological implications of this manipulation can lead to long-term trauma and complex emotional responses. What about fear in the digital age? The internet has amplified fear tactics tremendously. Online platforms can propagate sensationalized news, often feeding off our fears. This is evident in the rise of conspiracy theories that prey on societal anxieties. Social media algorithms prioritize content that evokes strong emotions, often leading to a distorted view of reality. The digital landscape enables fake news to spread rapidly, allowing fear to dictate public opinion and behavior. During the COVID-19 pandemic, misinformation spread like wildfire. Fear of the virus led many to make choices that may not have been well informed. In conclusion, understanding the psychology of fear is crucial for self-awareness and protection against manipulation. By recognizing the tactics used to induce fear, individuals can begin to reclaim control. The next time you feel that familiar twinge of fear, ask yourself, is this genuine or a tactic used to manipulate me? As we dissect these patterns, we empower ourselves to navigate the complexities of dark psychology more effectively. But what are the implications for our mental health and society as a whole? How does the constant exposure to fear impact our overall well-being? Narcissism is often viewed as a personal flaw, a character trait that manifests in various ways. But when we delve into dark psychology, we uncover an intricate layer that reveals narcissism as a complex mix of self-interest and manipulation. Understanding this phenomenon has profound implications for personal relationships and societal dynamics. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is a recognized mental condition, but we all exhibit narcissistic traits to some degree. This self-interest can be beneficial in moderation, driving individuals to pursue goals and personal growth. However, when this self-interest becomes extreme, it crosses the threshold into the realm of manipulation. Studies suggest that narcissists often lack empathy, making them adept at exploiting others for personal gain. According to research, approximately 1% of the population qualifies as narcissists, yet their impact is significantly outsized, especially in leadership roles. Consider the workplace. Narcissistic individuals can rise to leadership positions, often charming colleagues with their charisma and confidence. However, this charm isn't genuine, it's strategically deployed to achieve their goals. They may undermine coworkers, hoard resources, and take credit for successes that are not their own. The workplace environment becomes a battlefield, where emotional manipulation is the weapon of choice to maintain power. In romantic relationships, narcissism reveals itself through a pattern of emotional manipulation known as love bombing. Initially, they shower their partner with affection and attention, creating a dependency that ensures the narcissist retains control. Over time, this affection diminishes, leading to emotional neglect and an imbalance of power. The victim often feels trapped, oscillating between idealization and devaluation, which can have devastating psychological effects. Social media has become a breeding ground for narcissistic behavior.